almost breaking news because we're a day late. Facebook owner Meta has cut 11,000 staff. This is, from what I could find out, the single largest layoff of any company that I know of. And before anything else, a huge sympathy to all the people who got laid off today. Although you're getting a sweet severance package, hopefully. So, make the most of that. But huge layoffs from Facebook or Meta. There's just so much to talk about here because it's such a significant thing. Although I think maybe some people will say that they could see it coming. Anyway, I'm curious to hear what Mike and John have to say about that, and we're going to talk about it on today's Not So Critical update.
It's a big layoff.
Yeah. So just a correction, Peter. It hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen. It was just announced. So I don't even think the people know.
No, they do. It's on. Do they? It's on the about.fp.com. People's emails have been. People's emails have been allowed to stay on for a day, but the access to systems has been revoked.
Wow.
It's not like a rumor or anything. It's
so this reminds me of, I don't even think we covered this, but what's his name? Jim Cramer, the super
crazy guy with all
the financial
the sound effects and things.
He started crying on national TV after Facebook lost I forget what it was in one day, 20% drop or something. Because he felt, and it felt sincere, like the guy really did feel like he got played, and he like totally burned Facebook. He was like, I put my trust in the wrong people, obviously indicating that he was putting trust into Mark Zuckerberg driving the company in the right direction, and just like started crying. And I feel for the guy. A lot of people are probably very hurt from the financial woes of Facebook, and now employees are seeing the reality of it, which was Mark driving so hard onto Meta, the metaverse, and ignoring most likely stakeholders and shareholders and the board, and just doing whatever the fuck he wants. And it's now coming back to bite him in the ass.
Do you think it was that he was ignoring it, or that he just saturated the market? Like, where is there somebody not using Facebook that could be at this point?
No, I think to a certain extent he definitely was ignoring things. He wasn't. It happened very quickly, but because it was just a bunch of missteps on their side, all put together, and it just kind of fucked him up. So here's the things that he listed in the announcement about the reason. It's like there's a section called "How did we get here?" First of all, as usual, he blames COVID. Look, I'm actually much more sympathetic to Mark Zuckerberg than I expected to be. So, at the start of COVID, the world rapidly blah, blah, blah. The surge of e-commerce led to outsized revenue growth. Here's an interesting statement. Many people predicted this would be a permanent acceleration and that would continue even after the pandemic ended. I did too. So I made the decision to significantly increase our investments, which I think is like, how can you think that growth is going to be permanent? That's just dumb. Unfortunately, this did not play out the way I expected. Not only has the online e-commerce returned to prior trends, but the macroeconomic downturn, increased competition, and ad signal loss have caused our revenue to be much lower than I expected. I got this wrong, and I take responsibility for that. Actually, more like I got this wrong, and I take responsibility for that. So he blamed COVID, economic downturn, increased competition, and ad signal. I think that translates to ignoring the fact that a pandemic happened and continuing to hire as if everything's fine. I'm being quite cynical here. Increased competition. So, hey, look, there's TikTok. How are we going to respond to that? Didn't. And ad signal loss, which is finding new ways to, they have the world's biggest app platform.
I suspect more than hiring because they assumed the pandemic wouldn't change things. They saw a huge boon from the pandemic because now you had millions of people at home posting on Facebook because they
super bored,
weren't able to do anything else, and maybe he imagined that would just last forever. I don't know.
That's such a crazy assumption to make, that nothing will return after the doors open. Like we saw, it was also like, I am a bit dumbfounded because if we take a far step back and we look at the last 2.5 years, and what happened was that certain industries contracted and basically almost vanished. I'm thinking of the service industry, the airline industry, any travel industry, actually, really just blanket travel. All of them really had to hold on. Restaurants, and then e-commerce exploded, of course, because you have to order things at home. So places like DoorDash, Instacart, Amazon Fresh, all of these types of industries absolutely exploded. And I assume Facebook Marketplace did as well. I remember reading that they added like a ship to option, so you didn't have to do it locally. You could buy things that were sent to you. So, and then of course, like you said, you mentioned this, sitting at home, you're bored, you have 8 extra hours, so you're gonna doom scroll Facebook. And how could you, as someone as smart as yourself, how could you say that? I don't even believe that you thought that things were just gonna stay the same. There's absolutely, that's just fucking nonsense.
I mean, either way you interpret it, it's crazy. Either the growth during the pandemic we think will continue, or to say we think things will just return to normal. But both of those conclusions are equally ridiculous, I would hope.
We watched the United States government and global governments absolutely dump money into the economy. Everyone was screaming, this isn't sustainable. The effects of this will last for years. We know what's going to happen if you keep doing this. They ignored it. That's their call. I'm not here to talk about government decisions. But as a CEO of arguably, well, at the time, the biggest company, or top 3 at least, how are you going to say that you were wrong? You take responsibility. 11,000 people are about to lose their jobs. And you take responsibility, thoughts and prayers to those guys? Like, no.
Well, thoughts. One of the things that it brought home to me was the size of Facebook. So what I did, if you don't know this already, dear viewer, I work for a DNS company, and we get a certain amount of insight into we're doing quite a 40-odd billion DNS queries a day. So we can look at what queries people are sending to us. And anyway, so in situations like this, it's quite interesting. We can have a look into stats. We do a lot of data. Anyway, that's a side point. But I had a quick look today, and I had a look at the volume of queries that we were getting for Facebook domains. And because one of the things that it brought home to me was the scale of Facebook, how big it is. Like, it's 11,000 people is like more than, according to, there's a site called Layoffs.fyi, which is kind of lists the big mass layoffs in tech. And this is more than double the size of the next biggest layoff that they have listed there.
Wow.
So I had a look, and I was curious because of also the layoffs at Twitter, which were significant, but it was half of his workforce. So 3,500 people, 3,000 people, 3,500, and it was 50%.
Yeah,
3,700. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, just to give you an idea, we say 250 million queries a day for Facebook domains, but a tenth of that for Twitter.
Wow,
which is interesting. And then because everybody,
Twitter has a tenth of the daily active users that Facebook does. It's a much smaller social media platform,
which actually makes perfect sense, because if we're going off of rough numbers here, this is napkin math. Twitter's got 200,000 or 200 million more or less active users. Facebook claims 2 billion. So
and they have a tenth of the revenue.
Works out, actually,
math does add up. The math is sound.
We math good.
We math's well.
Good. Yeah. So one last thing. Sorry, John. I know you want to say.
I want to ask.
I had a quick look at TikTok as well, and TikTok was kind of a little bit less or a little bit more than Facebook. I can't remember what it was, but it was interesting because I think TikTok hasn't had the time to build up the kind of reserves that Facebook has. So Facebook was in a much better place to weather this kind of adjustment. I'm curious to see what will happen at TikTok.
Okay, 2 questions.
Yep.
When you looked into the queries, were they only for the actual site, or were they also like trackers or like Facebook pixels or whatever?
Good question. Actually, it is actually we do have it set up so that we can look at the set of domains associated with Facebook. Yeah, good question, because that's a really good point. Like, how much?
I'm not that dumb, you guys.
No. It's really good to recognize that traffic is going to those domains from non-Facebook websites. It's people not actually using Facebook, which is still looking up those domains. Yes, I couldn't tell you which was for the actual app and website, and which were. Yeah, I mean, I could do with more research, but I can't. I'm just far too lazy.
CBA.
Yeah.
Second question: were you able to compare this data to previous years? Like,
yes.
What was the trend?
I didn't look. I was able to, but I didn't.
Oh, I see.
But could,
yes.
Yeah.
But fuck you.
I could totally do that.
Sorry.
That would be a great thing to look up. Didn't do it.
Yeah. No. I'm gonna spend 5 seconds on here. Run one command.
Hey,
anyway, moving on.
I can tell you that the difference
researcher,
is that,
by the way.
I know. I just wanted to have a look.
That's how hard he prepares for the show.
Massively increased over the past couple of days. This is a different story, though. We can do a DNS story.
Yeah.
So TikTok has been going,
but the scale of Facebook is massive. Like, if 13% was 11,000 employees, like, that's crazy that they are over 100,000 people employed. Like, insane.
And I think related to that, the piece that I wanted to touch on, now that we're close to 15 minutes in, is so we had warnings from, I think, Twitter, Microsoft, Facebook, all saying, we don't think, given the number of employees we have, given the size of the company, we don't think production is where it should be. We think we have excess resources that aren't being utilized. So I think it's, yes, there's economic issues with the inflation, whatever. But I wonder if some of what was exposed was reduced productivity, or maybe not reduced productivity, but exposed a lack of productivity in the transition to work from home. And so they're just saying, like, okay, well, I guess we're just going to cut this off and see what happens.
Yeah, so one of the other things from the announcement was that other cost-saving measures that they're going to introduce include that people who work from home more than not are going to have to share desks when they come into the office, along with things like a hiring freeze. This is weird. Like, I don't quite get this. They're firing 13,000 people,
giving more room
and reducing hiring freeze. Hiring, right? They're holding on to the hiring freeze. I was like, well, duh. So the first Q1 hiring freeze, except for some circumstances, and I don't really understand that.
We will just have to wait and see. We'll definitely be reporting more on Facebook because we love saying our go-to sign off.
Yeah, Facebook.
Fuck them.
Well, I feel so sorry for the employees and the staff. Oh,
that's pretty.
Yeah,
very
like and subscribe if you want to hear more about it. That's it.